What is TypeScript? Hello everybody. In this video, I want to give you a very quick introduction to an awesome programming language called TypeScript. TypeScript is a programming language developed and maintained by Microsoft. TypeScript is a fairly new programming language that was first made public in October 2012. After 2 years of internal development at Microsoft, the announcement of TypeScript, some of the popular programmers praised the language itself, but some of them criticized the lack of mature IDE support apart from Microsoft Visual Studio, which was not available on Linux and OS X at that time. As of April 2021, there is a support in other IDEs and text editors, including Emacs, Vim, WebStorm, Atom, and Microsoft's own Visual Studio. TypeScript adds additional syntax to JavaScript to support a tighter integration with your editor. The language catches errors early in your editor. TypeScript validates your JavaScript ahead of time with static type check. JavaScript is a dynamic language where we can do all kinds of crazy things, like reference variables that doesn't exist or with objects of unknown or undefined variables. Like the code is interpreted by a browser, but if your code is broken, you won't catch it until runtime, when the browser throws an error. TypeScript prevents errors like this from ever happening by extending JavaScript with types. The language is a strict superset of a JavaScript, which means when you open up a TS file, you can write effectively plain JavaScript with all of its extra features being completely optional. Those features brings also multiple supports, which means if you have a TypeScript application, it can have both JavaScript files and TypeScript files, and those files can mix and mingle together, and that can be really nice when you are migrating a very large JavaScript code based TypeScript. But notice, in the code, here how the IDE is providing feedback about using a variable that doesn't exist. Instead of fixing this issue weeks later in a stack trace after the company has lost millions of dollars, we can fix it right here right now. The reason we get this instant feedback is because TypeScript behaves like a compiled language, where JavaScript is compilation target. If you come from a typed language background like C++, Java, or C#, then you are likely familiar with types. Well, it turns out that in a language like JavaScript, there are no types by default. That means that it's very easy to make errors in JavaScript. Literally, errors and syntax are in your code logic, passing wrong parameters to functions, and these errors will only be caught at runtime, when your code is actually being executed by user in production, and that can be really bad. You can run the TypeScript compiler using the tsc command. It will take the TS file and transpile it into vanilla JavaScript code. And you can choose any flavor of JavaScript you want. If you need to target ancient browsers, and that means you can use the latest and greatest syntax feature of JavaScript without having to worry if they will be supported in an older environment. Your TypeScript project will likely have a tsconfig file, which provides an infinite number of ways to customize the behavior of the compiler. But the primary goal of TypeScript is to enable static typing one way. It achieves that is by allowing you to annotate your code with types we can strongly type a variable, using a colon followed by its type like a string, boolean, or a number that's known as an explicit type. If we then try to assign its value as the wrong type, we get an error. Alternatively, if we set an initial value, it will implicitly infer the type. However, there may be cases where you want to opt out of this behavior, in which case you can annotate with any type that allows you to lose the type or opt out of type checking. When working with an array, use brackets to strongly type a list. In addition, you can define your own custom types and interfaces, which is especially powerful when working with objects. As you can see, the car interface here defines various types of the properties on an object. We can then apply the interface to a plain JavaScript object. The beauty of having spawned a type code is that we get autocomplete everywhere in our IDE. We don't have to jump back and forth to documentation or dig through stack traces to figure out why our code's not working, why there is an error, like that. So, these solutions make the TypeScript more safer than JavaScript. The TypeScript works with simple and safe compiler. This compiler is itself written in TypeScript and compiled to JavaScript. It's licensed under the Apache License 2.2. TypeScript is included as a first-class programming language in Microsoft Visual Studio 2013, alongside C# and other Microsoft languages. An official extension also allows Visual Studio 2012 to support TypeScript. Also, the popular programmer Andres Hagelbach, who lead architecture of C# and creator of Delphi and Turbo Pascal, has worked on the development of TypeScript. With his help, TypeScript works with great efficiency today. So, let's talk about extensions. When it comes to JavaScript libraries and frameworks like React, Vue, Angular, etc., you can use them with same way with npm or yarn. Due to increase in the use of TypeScript in a short time, many framework and library developers have made more detailed developments for TypeScript. As you can see in the table, you can see the use of TypeScript over the years. TypeScript is also used as an approved language in big companies such as Google. Okay, let's install TypeScript and write some code. Before installing TypeScript, you need Node.js. When you go to Node.js website, you see two options to download. I recommend you to download long-term support. After clicking this button, you will see the installing MSI file. When you open MSI file, you will see installation package. Now, after installation Node.js, let's install TypeScript. Let's open the terminal and write npm install g TypeScript. npm stands for Node Package Manager and -g for global saving. After installing TypeScript, we can write tsc, which stands for TypeScript compiler, and you can see all of the commands for compiler, and also you can see the version of TypeScript. Okay, let's create basic application. I'll call it hello.ts. So we can create function which can greeting like name. For the parameters, we can getting persons as a string and open curly brackets, and return can return hello hello as a parameter of person. Okay, and now we can console log with greetings, like for example I can read my name anyway. Let's save it. Okay, after save the application, now in the terminal we can just write tsc hello TS. TSC stands for TypeScript compiler, and this is our file. After entering, it will create vanilla JavaScript code, as you can see. To run this, we can write node hello JS. As you can see, it's typed the hello everywhere. So console.